Hi, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Today I am excited. Let me explain to you why. Just a couple of months ago, we had an election. An election is of importance to this state. Why is it important, you may ask? Because we need change. And when I say change, I mean understanding what we need as a society to grow, to flourish, to leave a legacy. More importantly, understanding what people are going through. Today, I am pleased to have in studio the Democratic nominee for the state of Indiana, the one, the only, Dr. Valerie
Hello.
McCray. What's going on, Val?
Oh, everything's going on. I tell you, I like hearing that the Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate. I like hearing that. That was a long battle. So we're at the halfway point,
Right.
and now we just have to go and win the general election in November.
Before we get into all of that journey and so forth, tell the viewers a little bit about yourself because your resume is ridiculous.
It's a different one, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have a lot of politics in it until recently. I'm a clinical psychologist. I was a single mom. Clinical psychologist that was out here just working. And then just sort of the work that I do in trauma, it sort of propelled me to think about politics. It's like, hey, we can do this a little bit differently. I need to affect more people. And at the time, there weren't that many black psychologists out here as well. So serving our people, it became, I still do that, but it became where it was overpowering because I was needed everywhere. And then just to think about how do we affect more people in a broader scope? And the best way I thought to do that was to enter into the political realm so I could change policy.
What were some of the things that you said impacted you? Because your resume doesn't include a politician's road. You know, you don't have that in this bio, but I see compassion. I see the caring of issues with individuals. What were some of the things that stood out for you in the workforce that made you say policy needs to take place?
My first job as a clinical psychologist outside of, the whole graduate student internships and that sort of thing was working in the Indiana Women's Prison. I sort of fell into that job and then fell in love with those jobs after a while. The thing about it was that you could actually see how when we let things go, when we let education go, when we let the drug issues go, when we don't pay attention to the abuses in the home and the child abuse, when we don't pay attention to those things, we wind up with a prison population, then half of them don't need to be there. We could have prevented a lot of those issues way back, from the beginning. So that was one of the things, just working in the prison, I thought, wow, look at all this beauty, look at all the creativity, look at all the wasted intelligence that we've got locked behind bars when they could be outside, contributing more to society the way they're meant to contribute to society, and be parents, the parents they wanted to be, and that sort of thing. I just wanted to make sure we had policy to keep so many people from falling in that ditch. It's not a crack; it's a big, deep ditch that
But
it's
some
hard to climb
people would
out of.
say that prison is a business,
It is a
and
business.
it's designed to keep people in there. And you seeing something totally different. Were there other individuals that saw what you were seeing that change needed to be taking place? And let me clarify something to the viewers too. We're just not talking about incarceration. We're talking about what you've seen even outside of the prison system as well. Correct?
Correct. And it's both. It's those are some things that we can change to keep people from falling into the ditch. But the ditch is made bigger by it being a business. We keep building bigger and bigger prisons. We keep expanding how many people we take and incarcerate. So as long as you have a big purse, a lady can tell you, the bigger your purse, the more stuff you find to fill it up.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going on with the prisons. We keep building bigger ones and we keep filling them up because it is a business. It
Right.
is a business. And the people who make the the prisons, they actually insist on a 90% occupancy or 95% occupancy as if it's a hotel or something, but they have to make money. And we can stop giving them people to make money off of. That would be my goal, to sort of shut that thing down sooner or later.
When you decided to run for political office, who was the inspirations behind this, and did it even make sense for you when people told you you should try to run?
You know what? I've always been have my own thoughts. A lot of people have, questioned that. So one of the things that people question, do you really, all politicians are dirty? You don't want to, why do you want to get in that game? And I don't believe that. I don't believe that all politicians are dirty. I don't
Mm-hmm.
believe that all politicians are bought. But we do have to be very careful and really handpick and follow those people that are trying to make a difference, that aren't trying to fill up their pockets, that are really, really uh, concerned about the people in general. There was a lot of people that like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. But I was compelled to do it, and once the thought got there, once I made those initial steps, it's like no. Once I make a decision, I keep going forward with
Mm-hmm.
it.
Your grassroots isn't politicians, though. It isn't in
Absolutely.
politics. You dealing something that truly is almost unheard of. We live in a day of the digital blueprint, the social media blueprint. You didn't have that.
No.
You know how hard it is to get to where you got to without that blueprint? What does that say for you? Seriously,
It
that
says
says
that
that somebody believes in you.
we had a heck of a team and a lot of people that believed in this campaign. Our campaign team is relentless. We still need to grow it, but it's growing and growing. But they're a relentless bunch. They are diehard. They get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, drive all over the state, do what it takes to get it done. They didn't ask for money. We just had gas money. They just wanted to get it done. And I think that when something grows organically like that,
Mm-hmm.
it's really solid. It's you don't have to guess what people are in it about. They are just about it, so to speak. As far as not having a social media footprint, that
Yeah.
was pretty much had to be designed that way.
Okay.
And the reason why, I mean, I work with the military. That's half of what I do. But I also work with young people that have been incarcerated. I work with people that have been shot. They have, in some cases, they're the shooters and that sort of thing. But we are dealing with a prison population, and some of them are mentally ill and incarcerated,
Mm-hmm.
it was important for me not to put my family at risk while I was working in the prison systems. Now, I did not develop any enemies. And I have had people to get in touch with me since then, just even recently, to say how helpful or how inspiration it was for me to be their therapist while they were incarcerated. So I haven't had those crazies to sort of follow me, but just to be sure, I just stayed off of social media.
Okay.
I didn't
I can
want them to
understand
know
that.
my business and that sort of thing, and who my friends were and this were, so that we could just do therapy in the room and not necessarily about my business and their business, and you never know who they know.
Right.
So that was by design. So then I had to pop out and actually develop a social media, Facebook friend group. And they're
Right.
like, "Where have you been? We didn't even know you were
You
around."
surprised
I
everybody.
did, I did. They're like, "Oh, you're alive, you're alive." Yeah.
You talk about let's shift the table a little bit. Let's talk about the young people. You dealt with young people in your line of work. You dealt with the mental health side as well. How important is it for your message to be tailored to the young?
Some just phenomenal young people out there. They're influencers. They're jumping on the campaign to help influence the campaign. They are amazing groups. So we are just excited about what's coming forward with the young folks. Just come on, because as soon as we get this thing going, I get in office and that sort of thing, I'm just paving the way. I'm just kicking the door open so they can just rush on through.
You're paving the way and you're going to kick the door open.
Right.
Okay, so with that saying in mind, what are, it's a two-part question.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to come at you with all kind of political questions because that's not who you are.
Right.
But you see a need for change as well.
Absolutely.
Let's start with this question. What are the three things that need to be changed as far as from what you see? Three major issues that need to be addressed and why?
The most pressing issue, across all socioeconomic places and races, it's probably the women's issues, their right to choose what's going on with their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why that's so important, there's so many things connected to it: economics, domestic violence. There's just that right to privacy.
Mm-hmm.
Once we open that up and you lose your right to privacy, you're going into an abyss that we don't know how deep that can get, but we're seeing some parts of that now with Louisiana, for example, trying to say that birth control is a narcotic, a
Right.
class, whatever that drug is, a class A drug or something. And they also have some other draconian type rules. But this can get crazy. And even here in our state, they're talking about chasing people across state lines to see if they've had an abortion or not. This is getting into
Almost like violation of let's call it what it is.
it's total
Constitutional
violation,
rights.
constitutional rights. And once we open that door, we are opening ourselves up to really suppression and oppression that nobody wants. This is about freedom. This is not a right to life versus a choice right. This is about personal freedom and making sure that people have the rights to choose what they want to do with their bodies and their futures.
What's the second topic that we need to address?
Let's the tabletop issues. People are not making enough money to make their ends meet.
I just said that yesterday to somebody. I was like, I was watching television and I was like, it's so funny. The average individual, no, I said, what is American dream? Is American dream a house? You don't own a house. You pay the bank. You continue to pay the bank. You pay the mortgage. If you don't set it up in the right trust, you lose it.
Right.
So the average American has to work 2 to 3 jobs to almost have the American dream. And by the time they get it, they're too old to even enjoy it.
It does seem like a setup, doesn't it?
It does.
It seems like quite the
what's your
setup.
take on that? You said that's an issue. Why is that an issue for you?
There's a lot of privileges that go with owning a home, though. There's lower interest rates. There's things, doors that open when you own the home. There's some autonomy that you have that's built into owning a home. But you're right in that you wind up paying 3 times the amount for a home by the time you're done with that mortgage. But the American dream, the young people now are we see how the cost of everything is going up, and people are still spending, and people are wondering, okay, with things going way up, why are people still spending, still going out to dinner, still buying expensive items? It's because they've given up on that saving money.
Just live is what they want to do.
Just right now, buying a home is outside of my scope now. It's beginning more and more impossible. Saving money, the 401ks, or our jobs don't even offer that anyway. The things that you would normally save for and do for young people, especially, like, just might as well spend it. I'm never going to have enough to do that, and that's unfortunate because we're becoming more of a consumer and not someone is looking into the future, which is a trap that we don't want to get into.
What do we do? What do we need to do with that going into office? If when you get elected, let's put the power of being. When you
When
get
I get
elected,
elected,
how do we
we're
change
going to
that?
have to start looking at income, quality of life issues, and that also includes an income that's breathable. And when I say breathable wages, I use that term breathable wages because it means that we want wages such that you can pay your bills. Your tires are all good on your car, your vehicle. Everything's good. You can put a little money away. Your kids are okay. They're in soccer. They've got the uniforms they need. They've got those things that they need. And you also have time to just breathe. you can just breathe. Everything's paid. Everything's cool. That's what I'm talking about as far as breathable wages. We haven't seen that for a while, and it's only those people in that upper 10, 20% that gets to have that breath. Everyone else is just week to week, month to month. Just two or three paychecks from just a disaster. So that's another thing too. Let's make sure that our quality of life issues are improved drastically.
How do we do that, in your opinion, when we have jobs that are constantly being sent abroad and the whole work industry has pretty much changed? You have more people that tend to now work from home because there almost appears to be no going to a factory anymore.
Right. It's been an issue, and it is an issue, and it's going to become even more of an issue with so many robotics and AI and those things taking over more and more
Right.
jobs. We might have to look at the universal income, see how that makes sense. There's some things we're going to have to look at because there's fewer and fewer jobs.
Mm-hmm.
But we can get people ready for the jobs that are coming up. Construction is always going to be good to know.
Mm-hmm.
There's always going to be cyber security. There's all sorts of new things. We're going to need the doctors, the lawyers. We need people that know how to do hands-on stuff. We're still going to need a lot of different people do a lot of different things. Let's get them ready.
Mm-hmm.
We had that big infrastructure bill that came through. There's so much construction going on, so many things being built. A lot of our young people weren't ready to take that on.
Right.
So we've got to get them ready so that the next or even this round of building and infrastructure, they can be a part of it.
What's the third thing that we need to address?
Forever and always is for me is medical care. I don't want to leave this earth without having medical care for everyone.
Okay.
It just doesn't make sense that medical care is connected to jobs because guess what? We don't have consistent jobs half the
Right.
time.
Right.
So it has to be something that is universal to everyone, that's national, that has a single payer because for one thing, it is just out of control.
Right.
One good thing about the Biden and Kamala Harris administration right now, they just recently, within the last couple of days, said that your medical bills cannot be included in your FICA score, in your
Credit score.
credit scoring, which is a big move because that was really taking people into bankruptcy. That was keeping people down because of these healthcare costs. But let's do something about the healthcare costs in the beginning. Let's make sure we have healthcare for everyone. It's actually more financially better for everyone, the employers, the people, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make sure everyone has health care. It would change the whole feel of the United States. And
Right.
there's other countries that are doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just above us, Canada has been doing it for 30, 40, 50 years. Other nations are doing it, and they're doing a great, great job. We can do it, and we can do it even better.
It's called not reinventing the wheel. Once you see
We
that
don't have
it's,
to reinvent the wheel
once you
right
see
now.
that it's working somewhere else.
It's absolutely right.
You mentioned something that I thought was really profound, and I'm really about the youth. I have kids. I'm blessed that they're in college, that they done what they're supposed to do in a challenging world. What's your take on the education for Indiana? We know you can't touch the world, but let's start with home. What's your take on helping making sure that everybody gets a seat at the table through education?
One of the things we need to stop first and foremost is these voucher systems that are sucking money out of the public schools. It is sucking it up like a vacuum right now. And actually that money is going to church schools, parochial schools. It's going to actually people that are in that upper end of the econ brackets.
Mm-hmm.
We're paying people school that can afford to send their kids to private schools. Why are we doing that? If it wasn't for the fact that they're sucking money out of the public school, maybe it would be okay, but that's not what's happening. Our kids are being cheated out of their education, out of a positive education. I think that right now that's the main focus we need is to concentrate on our school. We have brilliant minds here,
Yeah.
but we have to act like we have to make sure that their education, understanding it's our investment. It is our number one investment that we can make into our future is to educate our children. We can do it here in Indiana. As a matter of fact, I would love to make Indiana the sort of an icon for excellence, sort of
We need to be the role model
the
for the
role
road.
model for the rest of the country.
Yeah, yeah, I strongly agree with that. Not only have, and I love Indiana, we have the five greatest cities to live in, from Carmel, Westfield, Noblesville, Fishers, as well as Marion County itself. So I agree 100% with you. What makes this campaign difficult for you? And let me explain that, what I mean by that. Your grassroots is mental health, your grassroots is helping individuals, your grassroots is seeing the problem and working on the solution. What has been a tough, what has made this journey tough for you?
I say three things. I think the number one thing that's made it tough is that it's very difficult for a black female, a female period, to raise money, and it takes money to run a campaign. That's made it difficult. Another thing that's made it difficult, and we've managed to work around that, we just don't want to continue to do it that way. Uh, Another thing that's made it difficult is that we're running across a lot of people that have checked out of the whole political arena, mentally and emotionally, and they will just say, "I don't even do that. I don't vote. I don't feel like voting." Some of them used to vote, but some of them haven't even checked into the system and haven't registered to vote, and nor do they feel like they want to register to vote.
Mm-hmm.
And so getting them to know that, hey, this is an important race. So that's made it difficult. Another thing, too, there's a lot of misinformation about who can vote. For example, felons can vote.
Yeah, I was, that's new. I had no idea.
Felons can absolutely vote. If you're not presently incarcerated, you can vote. If you've already did your time, if you had a little mistake when you were younger. I was talking to a young man at Logan's, one of the steakhouses, right? He says, "Hey, I made a mistake when I was younger, so I can't vote." I'm like, "No, get out your phone right now. We're going to register you to vote. If you're not incarcerated right now, you can vote." There are people in jail right now. If you are awaiting your trial and you have not been convicted, you are still eligible to vote while you're in
Wow,
jail because you have not been convicted of anything.
great information.
Great, absolutely. But what people need to know, that once you come home, if you're even if you're on parole or probation, you can still vote as long as you're not physically incarcerated.
Now, your campaign is doing something a little bit different. I understand. You guys are actually helping those who are not informed of this, who can't get to the voting polls for whatever reason, or don't have the information that they can. You guys can make a way for that to happen, because every vote is important.
Every vote is important, and it's just so easy on your phone. It's just Indiana voters. Just type in Indiana voters, or even just say Google, how do I vote in Indiana? It comes up so easily. It's 2 minutes. Just need your driver's license. You can get it done right there on your phone. It is so easy to do. Um, Another thing is that people don't realize just how important this race is, and how important even this U.S. Senate role is.
Explain to the viewers why.
Do you know that there's only been three black female in the Senate since the beginning of the inception of the United States?
That's way back.
Oh, way back. So think about it. Kamala Harris, and she's the tiebreaker right now. She actually literally has to come out of the White House as the vice president to break ties in the Senate. She's that 51. She gets that vote. She makes it the majority. And then before that was Carol Moseley Braun out of Chicago. And she's still kicking and running good, and she's looking good out there. And then there was a female out of California briefly, and she was put in when Dianne Feinstein died. So we haven't had a good representation in the Senate. There's a lot of sisters and brothers for example, in the House.
Mm-hmm.
But in the Senate, we need a strong representation. It's a powerful position. It's right under the president, the Senate is. To have people that represent you at that level is just so ultimately important. It's just amazingly important. It's just big, humongously important. Is there a big word for that? I need another big word. But people don't realize, and a lot of times people just get that confused with what a U.S. senator is and what a state senator is. They're all important, but it's just one goes to Washington, and we are focused on the whole country, but with Indiana in mind.
Okay.
Yeah,
That
so
makes sense.
Indiana is in mind. We're going to make sure that Indiana, if we're looking at contracts and things that need to happen, of course I'm going to have Indiana at the
Right.
top of it. It's like, oh, well, shoot, Indiana needs that. Oh, yeah, we Clean Water Act. Yes, we need that.
Right.
Making sure we make sure we're in line to get what's happening coming out of Washington. That's my goal. Throw down some ropes so we can get some of this stuff that's coming out of Washington. But also the whole country, and we also make decisions on wars.
Yeah.
When we go to war, how we go to war, if we go to war, who do we pay what to?
Mm-hmm.
Who do we support? This is what the Senate does, the U.S. Senate does.
Let's talk about our children, our future. Let's talk about the impact of their future and how do you see it and what you think needs to be changed to give them an upper foothold to the haves versus the have-nots.
Probably exposure. I think exposure to different circumstances, different situations, different worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Exchange programs, different ways of connection with different colleges, different opportunities. You can only dream as far as what you know. So
Right.
people that have parents that are able to expose them to a lot of different situations, they have a foothold. They're able to just jump right in.
Right.
Some of our children have not been able to be out of their communities. Need alone visit the colleges. Need alone be out of the country. Need alone connect with an international.
Let's get real. Some of the
program.
parents haven't even attended college. They didn't have those resources. So you have a
Absolutely.
lot of now. This is probably the first generation that I'm seeing a whole bunch of students being able to have the resources to go to college, to be the first generation to get that. But you want to see this not become a one and done.
Not become a one and done is exactly right. My parents weren't college educated.
Right.
And so we were a first. I was the first to complete college and especially complete a PhD. There were a lot of things that I went through because they just didn't know. They didn't know that that I could get this scholarship. They didn't know that I could do this. They didn't know these different things, and I had to find out by hard knocks how to get some things that a lot of parents already know because they're second generation college graduates. Our kids just need more guidance. They just need sort of the a roadmap. Go here, go there, and then also they need exposure to how that actually works. Because a lot of times, just the mechanics of how do I do this? How do I fill out this form? How do I fill out that form? And just to have some guidance of, hey, there's a FAFSA form you can fill out. We can help you get that filled out so that you can go to college. Just because you're broke doesn't mean you can't go to college.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for taking time out to come in out of your busy campaign because clearly you shared a lot of information that I didn't even know that the viewers who who didn't know they could register can register by going to where?
Indiana voters. Or just type in how do I register to vote in Indiana. It'll come right up and it's just a few clicks and you are registered to vote. Just need your driver's license. And then you vote in November. But you have to be registered by October to vote in November. You can't wait till the last minute and go to the voting polls and think you can just show up and vote. You have to register ahead of time. And that cutoff is somewhere early October.
What adversities have you faced? Let's take the viewers down what it's like to be a woman of color, to get into a system that really wasn't designed.
I think that the most telling part of that is probably in the donation thing. Men, I think this is how it happens, is that when a man asks another man for some money or donations, That
It's
man,
easy.
it's easy because the man is, they don't want to show that they don't have it like that. So they're not going to give you a little check. So you might write that check for $5,000 because the man is not going to want to show another man that he only, it's a pride thing,
Hmm.
right? Well, that same man who writes a $5,000 check to a man will turn around and write a $50 check to a female and be really proud of. Here you go, little lady.
Hmm.
Here's $50. It's like it's just not equal as far as what they're willing to give one or the other. But where we make up for it is that we're able to build alliances. We're able to get, if I were to have had to pay those hard workers that were working on our campaign, it would have cost me $1 million. But instead, we have women that are jumping in and working, and males too. Now, on the campaign trail itself, believe it or not, I have not had any difficulty as a black female getting people to sign the signature pages, getting people to jump on board. We won 90 of the 92 counties,
Hmm.
which means that women and men in rural areas, that not just Indianapolis, Marion County, Gary, Indiana, Fort Wayne, Evansville, those were areas that we knew that we could expect that we would get support from. But we got the little counties, the all white counties. We got the counties in the rural areas, the suburbs. We got 90 of the 92. And the two that we lost, our opponent was from one of those.
Okay.
And the other one we lost by one point. So it was a really amazing. So we did have the support of the whole state. And I think it was the women in general that came out to vote.
When you say the women in general that came out to vote, what are three of the things that you were hearing mostly from your campaign from individuals that bought them out, that took initiative in an unknown?
The reversal of Roe v. Wade, it took a minute for that to settle in. It caught everyone by surprise how rapidly, once the courts overturned Roe v. Wade, it took a minute to settle in. And by that time, it was too late to sort of respond. Now that it's settled in, just how horrible that situation is and all those things that are connected to that, women have rallied around and said, wait a minute, we got to do something about this. We've got to turn the clocks back from the clocks being turned back. They're angry, they're upset about it, and they want to make sure there's a female that's leading this going forward. And then the men that love these women also are okay with the women leading this going forward.
Let's go back a minute because there's a lot of viewers that may not understand what that bill or that right consists of. Can you explain it to the viewers that don't? Because that had to be a pretty powerful piece of information for women and men to come together and say exactly what you said. There needs to be a change of policy. What was that particular act?
The particular act is that it threw everything back to the states as far as whether or not women had a choice to have an abortion or not, or had the choice of whether or not they could have an abortion or not.
Mm-hmm.
It basically threw the decisions back to the states. Once the states got the ball, different states did different things.
Mm-hmm.
Indiana became very, very oppressive and backwards. And they enacted rules that basically you have 6 weeks or 8 weeks to decide whether or not you're going to get an abortion or not, and then you get chased across the state lines if you have if you feel like you need to get an abortion. So it's very, very oppressive. It's very, very and it's not guaranteed based on the state. So we've got some states that everything stayed the same, and then some states they went way backwards. Alabama, Louisiana, different places. So now you've got a country that's divided up in this pro-choice, pro-life
Mm-hmm.
conversation. And it's beginning to be worse and worse as far as people drawing those lines. That's what the reversal of Roe v. Wade did.
What do you think? What do you think this campaign is going to be based on? The good, the bad, and the ugly.
I think it's going to be based on people tired of the hypocrisy,
Mm-hmm.
people talking out of both sides of their mouth. I think it's going to be based on people are tired of all the money running into campaigns. I think people are really, really hungry for just a politician that's not a politician.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're hungry for people that are just real, that are just going to tell the truth, the people that are going to be for the people. I think the ugly part of that is that we have a ramping up of, how do I say, we have a ramping up of ridiculous politics. And when I say ridiculous, it's mostly fear and rage politics that we're dealing with.
Okay.
How many people can we get to be enraged about immigration? How many people we can get to be enraged about CRT or transgender rights or anything? Let's
So it's
get the
becoming more
worst
of a
case
fear
scenario.
campaign.
Yes, it's totally been a fear campaign
Okay.
for the last several years. Especially, with the last administration, it's all about getting people enraged, throwing out a bunch of misinformation, and it's about that. And then we've got TV stations that are really supporting this propaganda. So people really believe, for example, that immigration is our biggest issue. It is not our biggest
Right.
issue. It's nowhere near our biggest issue.
What can we expect from you once you get elected?
You can expect me to just fight like crazy as far as, hey, I'm going to call it like it is. I'm going to call out the hypocrisy. We're going to have to make sure that people pay their fair share of taxes, make sure they pay their, it shouldn't be where we have these two, like, ultra rich and everybody else is struggling. We're going to make sure that everything is fair as far as the cost of things. Right now, the people at the bottom are paying these astronomical prices for everything. It is so expensive to be poor. It is so expensive to be struggling. You get higher interest rates. You get, everything is higher. Buy here, pay here lots. Food is higher. Everything is just higher. Everything is
Yeah.
stacked
What is
against
milk
you.
now? $5. Eggs $4.50. I stopped eating eggs. Can't afford them.
You can't afford eggs. If you can't afford eggs, I need to loan you $5. I got $5. I can loan you $5.
How can the viewers support you? What do we need to do to get on this campaign with you?
There are several things they can do. One, use your social media to get the word out. If you have a bunch of friends on your page, to say, hey, this is a sister's website. You need to know there's somebody out here who's got us in mind, who's got our hearts in mind and our goals in mind. Spread the word, because that's the most important thing, is to spread the word through their own social media, through their just having house parties and that sort of thing. Donate something. It can be $5. It can be $10. Those donations work, especially if you do it every month. Say, okay, every month we're going to just take out $10. Those things help. Of course, the big donations help as well. But the steady flow of money lets us know who we can pay and what we can pay, what we can purchase for the campaign. Can we purchase a commercial? Can we purchase a digital ad? What can we do? How far can we go? How far can we reach
Right.
to make sure that our name is out there? Another thing they can do is volunteer. We need people on phones. We need people to do phone banking. We need people to knock on doors. We need people to just put stamps on mailers and send things out. These are all things that people can do to get involved. If, if you can do a little, or we can, if you have some talent with digital marketing or just whatever your talent is, we can absorb that talent. Trust me, we can put you to use. And this,
How can they reach out to you? Is there an email address or a number they can call the central office if they want to donate, if they want to come out and volunteer? How do they do that?
what you do is just type in Valerie, just Google ValerieMcCray.org, McCray.com, ValerieMcCray.com. So let me spell Valerie for you. It's ValerieMcCray at .org. So again, ValerieMcCray.org. And you can get our donation button. There's right there.
Everything
You
is
can
right
volunteer is right there. You can give us a call at 317-874-6776. There's someone to answer the phone at all times. Or leave a message if we just happen to not to be close by, but we will get right back to you.
I know you'll get back. I know you'll get back. I can vouch for
Absolutely.
that.
We're a fun group too. That's what I want people to know. We are a really live, fun group to work with, and everybody has a good time. We work hard, but we also enjoy each other, and it's a menagerie of people from all walks of life, and people would actually enjoy getting to know us.
Speaking of, once again, appreciate you taking the time to come. I know for sure you're going to win. You're going to be the next Senate representing this beautiful state that we live in. Individuals need to understand your purpose, your why. You talked about that off camera too, the why. Before we wrap up, what exactly is the why in coming from you? What does that mean?
The why coming from me, I think you need to know, go back to where I came from. I grew up in the hood, so to speak. I left a lot of people have fallen behind. A lot of people have fallen off. I've had relatives, I've had people I know that have been, that have passed away, and sometimes not in, sometimes violent ways, and sometimes pass away just because lack of opportunities. I want this world to work for everybody. That's my why. It should work for everybody. Everybody has one life on this earth, and everybody should have a chance to have the best life possible. It's not just for the rich, it's for all of us. We're not here to just be slave labor for everybody so other people can live well. Everybody should be able to live decently and have a decent form of life while they're here on this earth. That's my main why. Individually, it's about women's rights. It's about medical care. It's about mental health first and foremost. And that's one thing I forget to remember. I forget to talk about is the mental health piece. And the reason why I forget to talk about it is because it's so much a part of me. It's what I do all day, every day. I am a psychologist first and foremost. So I put a mental health lens on everything.
You're not putting it on me right now.
You have to pay me to do that.
Okay.
If people ask me, am I analyzing
Yeah,
people?
I'm like, okay, is you analyzing this?
It's too hard. It's too hard to analyze people. I'm just like, I only do it if you pay me to do that. Other than that, no, I don't analyze people, but unless they pay me to do so. But putting a mental health lens on everything, it's like, how does this affect us emotionally? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've got environmental issues that we need to address. The globe is warming. We are putting ourselves in grave danger in what we're doing with the environment. But there's also a mental health component to that, because our well-being is our emotional well-being is very tied to the environment as well. It's tied to the earth. It's tied to the air. It's tied to the water. How we live, the wages, and being able to pay our bills, it affects us mentally, emotionally. And not only that, we also have people that are mentally stressed that could do better if they didn't have the stressors as well. The mental illness, you put that on top of stress and homelessness and that sort of thing. Everyone should have a place to live.
And those are a lot of triggers to deal with.
Absolutely. And absolutely everyone should be able to have a roof over their head. No one should have to be out here worried about the rain and the cold and someone molesting them or bothering them out on the streets. People should have food to eat. Those are just basics. We're human beings, and we have to treat people like human beings.
I love the fact that you said all that, because I can see the emotion in you. I saw the tears getting ready to come when you mentioned coming out of the hood. But more importantly, not only do I see a woman who's a mother figure to the world, I see that and I feel that you will be a great leader for this state, for the individuals who live in silence. Let's call it what it is. You are that voice. You are that beacon. I'm privileged to have you come on the show.
I am just honored to be in this position, to be able to compete, to be your next U.S. Senator. It's an honor to serve. I plan on doing a bang-up job. We're going to make it work. We're going to win, and we're also going to make life work for the people of the United States, and that's what's important.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show.